What's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, doing the what's next on contender Carlos Castro, super bantamweight contender at 122 pounds, as he's coming off of the first loss of his career. On February 5th, he took on former two-division world champion Luis Nery, and, he was the WBC's number 2 contender, and he came up short, losing a 10-round split decision. Took a knockdown in the first round, and he fought hard. It was a good back-and-forth fight, but Luis Nery did just a little bit more and walked away with a clean split decision victory here, as he, Nery bounces back with a win following the loss to Brandon Figueroa and hands Castro his first loss. So now, following that defeat, what's next for the contender Carlos Castro? For me, because of his performance and his resume, he still is going to remain a top 10 guy for right now at 122 pounds. That's why I'm doing a what's next video. If you drop out of my top 10, I don't give you a what's next. I felt like he fought hard enough against a guy who really is a top 5 super bantamweight in Luis Nery, and proved himself. So this is a good, strong performance by Luis Nery. By Carlos Castro in defeat. But I'm going to throw a stat at you guys, because before we start getting into opponents, I'm going to throw a stat. I look back at Carlos Castro's, because I know his last couple fights prior to Nery were at the featherweight limit, 126. He came in at almost 124 pounds for the fight with Cesar Juarez, former world title challenger. He knocked him out in 4 rounds. He took on Oscar Escandon, former world title challenger, former contender. That was pretty much at the full weight of 126. He came in 125 and a half for that fight, and he knocked out Oscar Escandon. Then the fight prior to those two was he came in at 121, decision win. Prior to that, he fought at 124, and he knocked his opponent out over the 122 limit. Then the 2 fights prior to that one, so we're talking 6 fights, he came in under 122 pounds and got decision victories. Maybe he's not cut out for 122. Maybe 126 is better for him. And the reason I say that is this guy's record is 27-1, 12 knockouts. His last 3 fights at featherweight have all been by knockout, and he's beat 2 credible opponents. You know, you can call them past it a little bit if you want, but they're both former contenders, former world title challengers in Cesar Juarez and Oscar Escandon. And he knocked them out, both of them. So maybe Carlos Castro is better cut out for 126. Now, if he won whatever division he fights at between 122 and 126, he's got plenty of options. The PBC has a lot of good, solid fighters in both weight classes. He's taken a step back now, so obviously Stephen Fulton Jr. is not an option for him, the unified champ. He's just not going to get a title shot this year. He's got to bounce back. But, some of the other fighters at 122, he's not going to get a shot at a title against MJ, Murajan Akhmadaliev. Brandon Figueroa, what a fun fight that would be at 126. I would love to see that fight. Figueroa's, looks like he's leaning that way to move up fully to 126 pounds following the loss to Stephen Fulton. He's coming off of his first defeat. Castro just lost his first fight, both close decisions. Why not a crossroads showdown right here between those two to see who the better man is? I would love to see it. I think that'd be interesting. I think a lot of people would want to see that. So we'll see. Then you got, Daniel Roman. Not likely. Roman it looks like he's in line to fight for the world titles. He's not going to risk that against a guy coming off a loss. Azat Havanasian's with Golden Boy. That's not likely. A rematch with Luis Nery. Not likely. Nery is going to move up at the 122-pound rankings. Ronnie Rios, Golden Boy guy. Plus, he's in line to fight for a world title. He would not risk that. Ionut Baluta. I guess if he wanted to risk against Baluta, he could, but he doesn't have to because he's not even a PBC guy. Angelo Leo. Now, that would be a fun fight right there. Angelo Leo lets his hands go, throws a lot of punches. So if Castro wanted to stay at 122, Angelo Leo would be a fun one. There's names like Aaron Alameda also that make sense. But look at he also has a lot of options options at 126. The PBC has a good amount of options there. Again, Brandon Figueroa, that fight could take place at 126. You have Ray Vargas, not likely, just because he's coming in likely to get a title shot against Magsayo next. But Magsayo's the WBC champion there. If for some reason he wanted to take an optional opponent, there's the possibility of Eduardo Ramirez coming back down to 126. You know, he's been fighting at 130. You know, so this guy does have options at 126 pounds if he wants to move up in weight. But I think that's the smart choice in my book for Carlos Castro is to possibly move up to 126 pounds. You know, because look at what he's done there. Obviously, he rehydrates well at 126 and has more power. So why risk it taking on guys and depleting yourself this way when really the proof is in the pudding? You know, to me, I think it makes sense. I think Castro should think about it. Likely going to see him back in the second half of the year, and I'm hoping it's against a legitimate PBC guy at 126 pounds, but we'll see what happens. But that's what I got. That's my what's next on former world title challenger Carlos Castro coming off of his first loss to Luis Nery on Saturday, February 5th on pay-per-view. I hope you guys enjoyed this. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.